Before we start the show, we'd like to thank our sponsors for 2025. SEBA, the Southeastern Beefmaster Breeders Association. Jones Beefmasters, Mr. Clark Jones of Savannah, Tennessee. Valor Cattle Company with Jordan Taylor in Hahira, Georgia. Rockin' RB Cattle Company, Crosby, Texas. Beef, the Beefmaster Education Endowment Fund. Our host, JCS Farms Beefmasters, Jared Strickland, Savannah, Tennessee. Emmons Ranch Beefmasters, Fairfield, Texas. Cottage Farms Beefmasters, Jackson, Tennessee. Lissy's Beefmasters, Stockdale, Texas. C&M Ranches, Kershaw, South Carolina. Our other host, G&M Cattle Company, Josh Morrison, Taylorsville, North Carolina. And Sea Shepherd Beefmasters, McAllen, Texas. Thank you for all your support. We couldn't do it without you. Welcome to Beefmaster Banner. We're your hosts, Josh Morrison and Jared Strickland, along with Dr. Lance Bauer, the EVP of BBU. How you guys doing?
We're doing good.
Good.
How's the weather over that way?
Well, we've been getting some rain, which is nice. Everything's greened up, but it's starting to get a little warm here. Had a couple days in the hundreds now, so a little hot, humid, nasty weather.
It was 85 and humid here today. I won't complain.
Yeah.
Been that
I
bad
said
in
we ain't cracked 90 yet, but I'm sure it's coming. But 100 degrees, y'all keep that down there.
Shoo. Well, I thought I had seen something about that. I mean, you'd think, especially that early grass, I mean, I feel certain it'd just burn it up on it.
No, a lot of it's good. I mean, it's got a good stand, so it's been growing for a while here. So it hadn't burned it up. So
Oh,
we
good
still
deal.
got the good stands of grass.
Oh, perfect. That's good. Well, we're finally going to get to the end of our EPD series. We have been chasing each other around. Either it wasn't good for Dr. Bauer or it wasn't good for Jared or myself or getting us all together, but we finally found an evening to do it, and it's the evening before this one comes out. But that's good,
Yeah.
I like working under pressure. We're gonna get to the end of our EPD series tonight, and it's all the maternal traits. So I'm gonna start it just like I always do. Dr. Bauer, why do we have maternal traits on EPDs?
So, I mean, I think maternal traits are extremely important. I mean, we sit here as a Beefmaster breed and we've preached for years. I mean, years and years that we are a maternal breed. We've talked about how good of a mama cow we make, that we're the best mama cow in the industry. Um, and these maternal traits help to measure that and help you to select on that. One thing I will, caution anybody on is these maternal traits, when we start selecting on them, they're lowly heritable traits, especially compared to your carcass traits and your growth traits, which are all moderately to highly heritable. So the genetics play a little less into it, but selection on these maternal traits is crucial, in order to improve your fertility and improve the direction that you're going with your herd, and making good decisions based on a cow.
Well, kind of diving on into them, I've always had questions about these, and I'm going to probably learn quite a bit tonight. But looking at the first one, that's both age of first calf and stability is kind of newer to our breed. So just starting with age of first calf, how does that help us? What does that tell us?
Okay, yeah. So just to start off, we introduced age at first calf and stayability a few years back, as more true maternal EPDs, compared to the last one we'll talk about tonight, which is going to be scrotal circumference. But age at first calf, that's going to look at how early in her first breeding season does that animal calve. And a lot of that has to do with, if she can get bred early and calve early in her first breeding season, she's going to get bred back better. And that second calf is kind of the crucial time, in my opinion, because when you're looking at cattle, there you're looking at an animal that's still putting some nutrients into growth and not strictly into reproduction and lactation. So, when she's trying to grow, reproduce, and lactate all at the same time, it's important to calve, earlier in the breeding season to get bred back, as early as possible. So when you're looking at that age at first calf EPD, a negative number is better. That means she's calving earlier in the season.
So, and if there's not really an answer to this, that's fine. But when we say age at first calf, the first thing that pops in my head is how old is she when she calves the first time? And I'm assuming that's what that means. And I know I know you're saying earlier in the season, but just so myself.
So it's going to be earlier in the season because in this, when we calculate age at first calf, we're using, we've talked about it before, whole herd reporting, the data is cleaner. So we use that whole herd reporting data. Now, some people do have some different calving seasons and, calve their heifers out a little bit later for their first calf, but we're looking anywhere between about 20 months and 30 months for that age at first calf. Those are the ones that get included in there. And so, again, it goes back to contemporary groups, which we've talked about, where the difference in the contemporary group is what makes the EPD different, because I got all sorts of grass and somebody out in West Texas is in a drought. And if we're on weight, I mean, that's the easiest one on weight. I'm going to have a heavier calf than they are, but the genetics may be the same. So that's why we look at the EPDs. So same thing with the age at first calf. If somebody's holding those heifers, to calve at 28 to 30 months, that one that calves at 28 months for them is going to be like the one that calves at 22 months for somebody that's breeding for 22 to 24-month-old heifers calving.
It's pretty much kind of by order, I guess, in that contemporary
Yes.
group
And
and
by ordering
age.
that, that's where you
Yeah.
get that difference
Yeah.
is, the difference between when those calves are when they
So
have the calves. Yeah.
I guess so. Does that follow? Is there any, so like when they get bred back and have their second calf, is there any play on that EPD or is it just for the first calf?
No, this is just strictly on
Okay.
the first calf. We have done some stuff and it's going to be real neat. As we continue to work with the University of Tennessee, we're going to see some stuff come out on calving interval. And that's going to kind of tell us some breed back. Some of the initial data I've seen is absolutely great. Don't want to spoil anything right now, but we've got some really good stuff going there. So it's just, and we do have a EPD that I've kind of watched. We haven't ever approved it. I've just kind of had it running in the background and watching it, looking at the calving interval between the first and second calf. Because like I've said, that to me, that's the most crucial, that age at first calf and then that calving interval between. Because once you get them through that period of their life, as long as they're fertile, they're going to keep on going for a long time.
Yeah.
That's a very tough period. I mean, it
Yeah.
really is.
Well, that's something I'm super interested in on that cabin interval, like you talking about with UT, because we've noticed in our herd, which I'm sure everybody else notices too, if you get one to breed back on time as a heifer, or even if one kind of backs up a little bit, moving forward, they tend to hang around, you know, not always foolproof, but they do tend to hang around.
So as far as I guess we can talk about that a little bit, even though it's not one of ours. But that I'm really interested in more information in that. So when we're talking about the calving interval, what would you say is the optimum? I mean, obviously probably their first cycle after having a calf. I mean,
Yeah.
what would be the optimum or period for that?
So to me, that optimum period you're going to shoot for and you're going to try to average is, a calf every 365 days. I mean, a cow is out there and that's what you've got her to do is have a calf every 365 days and have that paycheck on the ground or that replacement heifer or that bull that you're going to use, but have that on the ground every 365 days. That's kind of what we shoot for. Um, and as a breed, I think we do really well at that for the most part, having cows that reproduce year after year. And I think that leads into the next EPD, which is stayability. And so that stayability EPD is looking at the ability of a cow to consistently stay in the herd and have a calf until her fifth calf. So that's our stayability EPD. The safeguard we have in there is we do take out donors. They get excluded from that calculation. but also, we give the cow one miss between her first calf and when she should have her fifth calf. We give her one miss, but after that, she gets knocked out. So that's kind of our safeguard there. I think that, that fifth calf, and Jared, you're in extension, year 6, that's kind of when they say a cow breaks even.
Yeah, that's their goal anyway.
That's their goal, yeah.
If calf prices stay like they are, it might move it up a year. I don't know.
But
But yeah,
so
yeah,
that's kind of why stability is what it is, and where it is. And again, that's another EPD that is calculated off of whole herd reporting data, because one of the things you're required to do in whole herd reporting is dispose of cows, give a reason they were disposed, as well as record a calf out of those cows that are in your herd each year. So that's why whole herd reporting is so crucial and important, is for the quality data going into these EPDs.
yeah. I want to point that out because there's been a lot of discussion, some here, I guess some on Facebook and some around it sells about her reporting. And like you're saying, that is crucial to the breed as far as getting that, like you said, clean data, and it does benefit our EPDs and things like that. So definitely, and there's financial benefit, and we've talked about that on another episode, but just to hit it again it's very important for the breed to have as many folks in that as we can.
And I do feel like a lot of these that we're talking about tonight, I don't want to say maybe get overlooked, but maybe there's not enough. Maybe they don't know enough about them, or we don't know enough about them a lot of times to really look into them. So I think this is really helpful as far as
Yeah,
learning exactly what to look for and why these EPDs are important. I mean, because if you don't have these, I mean, you don't have a cow, essentially, a lot of times.
yeah, and I think it is. It's just one of those. It's a newer EPDs, not as well informed, and I'll be honest, they're not as easy to understand as a growth trait EPD. If I'm looking at growth traits and I'm comparing a 30-pound and a 20-pound weaning weight EPD, I know there's expected to be a 10-pound difference in the average of those calves between those two animals. But if I'm looking at a stability EPD, it takes a while to move that needle, and it takes a while to move the age at first calf needle, because you got to have a bunch of females, especially on a bull, you got to have a bunch of female progeny that stay around and produce consistently, to really move that needle on stability and age at first calf.
Yeah, it's a long term deal, which it's a long term goal as far as having those kind of EPDs in your herd.
But
Um,
everything's long term in the cattle industry. I
yeah,
mean, I was talking to somebody the other day. You breed something and you're trying to make improvements on your herd, but if you're just doing traditional breeding, a lot of times you're like, I full bred this animal, or even AI, and you're waiting 5 years to really see what you did this year.
yeah,
So
oh yeah. Uh, and it's kind of like steering a big ship. It takes a long term to get it to turn.
yeah,
I did want to point one thing out, kind of back. I had my notes here on the calving interval. One thing I like about digital beef, you can see that online if you're looking at a cow. It has it up there at the top when you go to the progeny window there, so you can see those calving intervals, and that's something to scout out if you're looking for cattle or your cattle if you want to just kind of do some research on your cattle.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I guess kind of going into um scrotal circumference. That's probably going to be I guess that's the last one we need to hit, but you know, we saved it until maternal, so I'm going to give you the $1 million question. Why?
okay. So scrotal circumference we save till maternal, because research has shown and that the larger the scrotal circumference of the bull, the earlier cow goes into puberty, or heifer goes into puberty. So that's why scrotal circumference, we considered it a maternal. Right now, it is currently in our $M calculation. We talked about it a little bit when we talked about $M. So Scrotal circumference is basically kind of our measurement of when an animal's going to reach puberty.
That's really something to think about, you know, when you're at these bull sales and you know, maybe I'm on the right track here. If you see one that's kind of iffy as far as close to the line of passing or whatever, maybe if you've come a long way in your fertility, that might not be the bull for you. I guess. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, that would be kind of, the way I'd go. And I really like the way that it's balanced into dollar
yeah,
M, and that's really the way I use scrotal circumference is
yeah,
where it's balanced into dollar M. All three of these traits, and especially the first two we talked about, I don't want to say in the near future, but sometime in the future, not too distant, but probably not right now. Um, we'll look at retooling dollar M, and really including some more of the hardcore maternal traits like age at first calf, and stayability, having those in there.
yeah.
When we can get a mature cow weight that we can rely on, having that in there for cow efficiency. So we're not relying on yearling weight as our metric for mature cow weight. Um, but I think that, these three lowly heritable traits, but it's extremely important to select on these fertility traits. Even though they are lowly heritable, you can make progress with them.
It's just going to take a lot longer
It's going to
to,
take
to
longer.
change something if you need something changed.
Yes. Yes.
But one other thing to look at, and maybe if you're out buying cattle and you've got a pretty good EPD on these traits, that may be a tendency to hope that you'll probably have more fertile cattle, I guess, as a whole. Uh, I've
So,
always heard on the fertility, it's hard to gain it, but it's also a little bit harder to lose it too once you got it, I guess.
which is the good side of things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were talking about in the future that, age at first calf, stability, that kind of thing being put in the dollar M. Will we potentially see those go away as what we're looking at now, and it would all just be in dollar M, or would it just dollar M would be calculated differently, but still have the sorted out EPDs like we've got now in the grid?
So I would envision them staying there in the grid and just having a different calculation for dollar M. I mean, it would be something that's up to breed improvement and board to make that decision what they want to see. I mean, I'll be honest, for the majority of producers, I think looking specifically at these indexes, and we talked about it, it keeps you from single trait selection. So looking at those indexes really helps you stay away from doing that, because I have watched people in the past, and I've even been a little bit guilty of it sometimes, getting overly excited about one number in an animal's EPD profile and saying, "Oh man, look at the IMF on that one," or "Oh, look at the, age at first calf. That's, top 1% for this," and completely ignoring everything else. And, the indexes keep you away from that. But there are times when it does, when you do as a breeder need to go in and look and say, okay, my dollar M index is lower than I'd like it to be, but these traits are where I'd like them. Which one do I need to improve on? And maybe you go in and, improve on your weaning weight for dollar M. So there is some give and take to using indexes.
Well, I kind of like the approach you're talking about, though. It keeps you from just really singling out something that's, you know, you get a good balance is key with a lot of this stuff. I think we forget that. And I know we've talked about it before, but I think balance is as important as being at the top, really.
Yeah, I don't think I can stress that enough. I mean, as humans, I think we're naturally driven to pick the biggest number. I mean, we're like, oh, big or top 1%, that's where we want to be. But I think if you look at it, you got to look for more of an optimum, and the optimum for your environment, and that's going to probably be in the top 35% of the breed for most traits. And you're sitting pretty good right there.
Yeah.
If you can make that your goal to get to that level, rather than saying, I want to have the top 1% for weaning weight, I want to have the top 1% for AFC. want to have the top 1% for this. So, okay, I want to have a balanced set of cattle that are optimum for my environment and utilize the EPDs to pick that.
Yeah, I think I mean, that's really good stuff there because, I've talked to producers before, your environment dictates a lot of things you can do. If you have low resources to provide for your cattle, say tough grass or bad hay or something like that, you don't want to be picking something with top 1% milk. I mean, you're going to end up with trouble. So, man, that's it all goes together. So I like how you put that.
Well, and I'll be honest with you. I mean, when we first started into this, I had no idea what an EPD was, never heard of it. Look, we had commercial cows, but obviously they didn't have EPDs. Yeah. So, but I mean, I'll tell you, we've been guilty of looking at trying to find top one, top one, top one, top one. So I'm hoping this helps a lot of people, especially newer breeders, is understanding you don't have to have the top 1% across the board to have a really good animal. Like you said, top 20, top 35% is going to be probably is still a pretty good, I mean, a
Oh,
really
yeah.
good animal. Not pretty good, really good.
I mean, I'll tell you, you got to want to look at the animals you have too. I mean, and just as we're wrapping up on EPDs, one thing, and I wrote about it a long time ago, and I think I've probably said it on here, is EPDs are just a tool. They're part of your tool belt. You know, you're building a house, you're not going to build the house with just a hammer. I mean, you're going to need saws, nail guns, all sorts of stuff. If you're building a cow, you don't need just the EPDs and the performance. You need to enjoy what they look like. They need to be functional and go out and do what they need to do. So
Oh
I
yeah,
think that's
yeah,
important to remember.
most definitely.
Now, the only funny story I have there is I had that conversation with somebody one time, and then I pulled into a little gas station, convenience store, truck stop on the side of the road, middle of nowhere one day on my way to somewhere, and I can't even remember where I was, but I walk in and hanging on the end cap, there is a little Leatherman tool that has all sorts of tools in it. But then when you folded it up, it had a hammer. And I said, well, look, you got a saw, you got a screwdriver, you got a hammer, you got everything you need to build a house right here. We don't have that multi-tool in cattle. You got to use each individual tool and balance it out. But
Yeah.
And it's always something that, that we're chasing. And I'm gonna venture to guess nobody has it down pat yet because obviously the perfect one's not been made.
I tell
But
you, I leave. I won't ever do anything with cattle again when I see the perfect animal.
Yeah.
be done. Just
I'd
done.
be done. If I see the perfect animal, I'll be done. But I hadn't seen that perfect animal.
And I think what helps that part is it's always a moving target, right? I mean, the market's always changing. Maybe not color or something that certain commercial people want, but the market's always changing. There's always something new to reach out there for. There's always something new to try. Just when you think you might have it by the cusp, there might be a new bull out there that's the best thing you've ever seen, and you got to try. I mean, it's always a moving target.
Oh yeah. It changes all the time. And just a simple example of that is feedlots want large frame cattle right now because corn's cheap and they can make them as big as they can. And when corn goes back to $8, they want something a little smaller. That's hard to change that. So I mean, it's always going to be hard to hit the target.
Cattle industry is a pendulum in terms of size. If you can stay right in the middle of that pendulum, you're pretty good.
Yeah. Balance.
Yeah, balance.
Can't say it enough.
Hey,
Um, before I feel like we've hit that pretty good. Is there anything else there, Dr. Bauer, that maybe we missed?
I think we're good. I think we're good. I think we hit them and
Well, I've really enjoyed the EPD series. I mean, it's
Oh, it's
been
been fun.
yeah, and like I said, if you're listening to this one for the first time, we did the other ones back in the fall and stuff, so you can look back and if you want to hear the rest of them, you guys can check that out.
like I said, like I end all of them with, I mean, if you've got questions, somebody wants to know, wants to learn something, reach out to me. I can send you some articles. I can send you some websites that are super helpful. I can talk to you about them. I'm more than willing and more than happy to help. And then again, anything BBU, feel free, reach out to the office, talk to the ladies in the office. If you got questions, talk to me. If you got questions, we're there to help you. We're there to work for you. So reach out to us, talk to us, and we'll help you out.
And y'all are easy to get a hold of, truthfully. I mean, they may not be able to get a hold of you directly right then, but there's never been a time that I know that Jared or I's reached out to you that you've not got back to us, reasonably quick. So there's, don't ever feel like that they're too busy to talk to you, because that's literally what you guys do. I mean, y'all are here to help us, and y'all do a great job of that. We got just a few minutes left before we end. I'm going to put you on the spot. Is there any kind of BBU updates you'd like to give real quick?
I will give one. This is going out pretty quick. But we've got our committee meetings and summer board meeting, June 16th through the 18th in College Station, Texas, at the Texas A&M Conference Center and Hotel. Sits right across the street from Kyle Field. So, if you're on a committee, I encourage you to come. Even if you're not on a committee, I encourage you to come and start getting involved, get your name out there, see what's going on, see what goes on behind the scenes. Every meeting there is an open meeting. Anybody can go into it. I encourage you to go. And the other exciting thing that we have right now is this Monday, May 12th, we had a young lady join us, Miss Hannah Nixon. Came to work for us as our director of marketing. Hannah has a very extensive marketing background. Um, Super excited to have her on board. This week, I've actually taken her to a couple of different breeders. We've got content from those breeders, everything from video to still photo, things that you'll see used on Facebook and breed promotion. So extremely excited about where we're headed with that and what Hannah can help us do and accomplish in the future.
Awesome. Well, and just like we said kind of before the show started, is we're going to get her on here as well, and we're just going to get a backstory. We're going to know her up and down, left and right before it's over with. So that's really cool. That's something that I feel like was probably needed,
Yes.
for sure. And especially somebody that knows what they're doing, has experience in the industry, and can really hammer on expanding our breed. Because if you don't market, to me, marketing is 90% of expanding a breed, expanding anything at that point.
Yeah, anything you do is marketing. And she and I've had that talk. I said, I'm a genetics person. I can tell you what a good cow looks like. I can talk to you about EPDs all day. I I can tell you if I like an ad or not, but I don't know where they need to go. I don't know, and marketing's the biggest thing you have in any business. Like you said, it's the biggest thing you have. I mean, you've got to be able to market. And that's one thing that, I think Hannah will help with too, is we can market BBU and we can market BBU all day long and we could have the best ads in the world. But as breeders, it's important to market yourself, because if I market Beefmaster, somebody may call the Beefmaster office and say, I need Beefmasters in Timbuktu. And if we don't know and they don't know you're there, you'll never be found.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the way it is. And that's the other thing, is something maybe on the other side of that. You mentioned, if, wherever Timbuktu is, if you don't know there's breeders there, but if you do know that there's breeders there, especially if you get to know them, if they're coming around, at least calling and introducing themselves, you can get them together and link them. And I mean, you're doing the work for them at that point. I mean, you're doing everything but meeting the people with them. And I think that's very important as well, as when we get these newer people that are interested in Beefmaster cattle, even if they don't have them yet, knowing where people are, at least the majority of them, you can get somebody at least within probably 2 or 3 hours of them and then they can visit each other, and who knows, that may be a great thing for them to make, to sell cattle and do what they're supposed to do anyways. So it'll be that's exciting. That's very exciting news. I think we're in some really exciting times, and the way the cattle markets are, I mean, we all need to market ourselves anyways, and get every bit we can. That's what we're in this for, just to make good cattle and make money. So,
That's right.
Anyways, maybe that'll make somebody want to run through a wall.
Rally the troops.
Rally the troops.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I think that's about it for the evening. But Dr. Bauer, thanks again for coming on as always. We'll get you back on here soon, and we'll talk. Probably right after committee meetings, we'll discuss those and that kind of stuff. So, but again, we do appreciate you coming on, and we'll see everybody on the next episode.
Sounds good. Thank y'all.
See you.
Well, we want to thank everybody for listening to the Beefmaster Banner podcast. Please know that we are on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and we are on YouTube. Just search Beefmaster Banner. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. We love hearing from you, and we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you.